Hey, Peter Henry here. In one of my previous videos, I talked about some really sensitive topics. Topics such as anxiety, topics such as depression, and I touched on mental illness. And this is a real hot button topic for a lot of people, and I really get that. And first, I want to start by saying I am also a sufferer of mental illness, and this is something I've claimed for myself. And that leads me into the topic of this video. What I was actually getting at when I touched on that topic and touched on it was the idea of labels and what labels are good for and what they're also not good for. And so I'm going to talk about labels a little bit first and what that means. So what exactly is a label? It's a thing that in one term, in one name, in one word, describes a set of definitions and communicates a set of definitions and parameters. So for instance, you would say, oh, what kind of music am I listening to? You'd ask a friend and they'd be like, oh, dubstep. And you're like, oh, okay, cool. And then you kind of start to get a whole slew of ideas of what that music means. You start to hear all sorts of different producers in your head, all sorts of other different names. And you're like, right, boom. Before you know it, you've already got an idea of what the heck it is. You have a place for it. It has some grounding and it has some meaning. And labels are very useful that way. So another way to think about labels is a box. And so in this box, you can have it empty and you can put stuff in it. You can put yourself in it. Or that box can also come with things. It can come with a bunch of different items as well too, as kind of like a wholesale package. So often when we have labels such as anxiety or labels such as attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, or less polarizing labels, less hot button labels such as dubstep and stuff like that, they often are in this box that also comes with a bunch of sets of definitions, expectations, and behaviors and perceptions. And that can be an incredibly useful tool of insight. So say for instance, someone is struggling in their life and they're having a very hard time with, say, social interaction, and they're constantly feeling a little bit uneasy. They're feeling a little bit stressed out whenever they're with people. Large groups of people stress them out. Someone might come along and say, hey, you know what? It's not your fault. You're probably just socially anxious or an introvert. And that makes the person start to think. They're like, oh, what does that mean? What is that? They start looking into those different definitions of what either social anxiety contains or what introversion contains. And then they start to gain a little bit of insight into their behaviors, start making those connections between the definitions that came in that box and themselves, which can be very, very useful. But it's still up to the individual to claim that for themselves. They can be presented with this box and definitions and then draw the parallels and then decide, yeah, absolutely. This is a tool for me that describes me, that allows me to better live with myself and better understand myself and move through the world. And in that way, a label can be a very empowering thing. So in regards to mental illness, if someone receives a diagnosis of, say, something as scary as depression, that can be huge and that can be life-changing for them. And they can take that on and look into what that is and connect it and then be like, okay, this is what I've got. This is the hand I've been dealt. How do I deal with this? When the lights go out, so to speak, it now gives me a plan of action. It now allows me to put me on the route to seek the help I need. And then they can go get that help. And then they can also communicate where they're coming from to people who may be misunderstanding them. And that in itself is very useful. But labels also have the power to make you powerless. As much as they can empower you and create better insight, they can also be used as a way for taking away your power and creating a scapegoat. And often when we hear the bullshit excuse of, oh, it's just all in your head, is when people start using things like a scapegoat. For instance, I'm going to share a personal story with you as well. I had a roommate once that suffered from a back disorder, and absolutely everything that he did, he tied back to that back disorder. To the reason why he never did the chores, to the reason why he really struggled with making any sort of money, to the reason why he would smoke weed at night, coughing late at night and keeping me up. He would blame that all on his back. He's like, man, I just have a bad back. Like, you have to understand. Like, I'm doing all these things, but I have a bad back. I can't do this. I can't, keep up with all the chores and stuff like that because I'm in pain all the time. I have a bad back. Okay, great. I understand that you have a certain parameter and a certain set of conditions that limits your ability, or that can be perceived as limiting your ability. But instead of looking at it from a place where it takes your power away from you and where it makes your life difficult, you can choose to find the solutions around that. So say, for instance, the habit of smoking weed to help him go to sleep because of his back pain would keep him up. It would help put him to sleep and help him out with his pain. Great. But it also kept his roommate awake every night for several hours. And that would cut into my sleep and my quality of life. So instead of doing that and just saying, hey, you don't understand, I have to do this for myself, why don't you find a solution that works for the both of us? There's like CBD oil drops, and that's another topic for another day. You could just do something like that. It's silent, it's much more effective, and it's a win-win for both. And then who knows, maybe he'll have all the positive effects of CBD. He'll be so inspired by it that he'll be telling other people about it. Maybe he'll be looking into it. Maybe he'll find ways to sell it. And before you know it, he's looking into ways to create a website. So he's starting to learn how to make a website. He's looking ways to create, a blog. Maybe he's looking ways to sell it online. So he's learning sales skills, marketing skills. Suddenly, his bad back came from being a problem to empowering him and using it as an engine for personal growth. So it's all in the perspective of how you see it. You can choose to see it as something that takes your power away from you, or you can choose to accept it and see it as something that takes you up a next level. So for me, I'm a sufferer of mental illness. I have adult ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, and it was incredibly severe to the point where I could not function in normal society. I was never able to hold a job for more than 8 months, and it kept getting worse and worse and worse. I kept getting fired for the same damn things. Lacks focus, constantly distracted, doesn't listen. Even when I did my damn best, those things would still come up. And it got to the point where I had 3 different jobs in the same month, and I kept getting let go. And I couldn't go on living like that. I was like, what the flying fuck is going on? This is bullshit. I'm trying to stand on my feet, but I keep slipping and falling on my ass before I ever have a chance. And I was resisting it for a long time. I was resisting claiming that. I had figured something was up, but I didn't want that label to have any power over me. I didn't want to be put in a box. I didn't want to be limited by what that box entailed. But I was being limited by not seeing it for what it was, by not creating a fuller understanding of myself and the reality of what it was like to live my daily life. So then I finally sought the help I needed. And I talked with a psychiatrist. I got an evaluation. We sat together for hours, hammered it home, and she's like, Peter, you have seriously severe ADHD. We're gonna try this, report back to me, see how you think. It should feel like a switch goes off in your mind and your day is completely different. And you know what? She was 100% right. My mind went from being this scattered papers and files and things all over the desk that I'm constantly having to root through and look for, and it would take me an hour just to do something that would take someone 5 minutes. Well, then my mind went from that to being alphabetized, numerized, ordered, put into an organized filing cabinet. I needed something, I could pull it out, boom, there it is. Access, execution all day. And I was flowing. I was on fire. I was absolutely stoked. I called her the very next day. I was like, holy cow, what did you give me? What is this? This is nuts. This is magic. And I finally found the help I needed. And that was incredible. And my acceptance of that label and choosing to claim it as opposed to not was very, very beneficial. Now, choosing not to claim it can also be very beneficial as well too. You know, maybe you might have something going on, you might suspect something going on, but you don't want that to limit your perspective, because once you claim a label, it does this to your vision. Or it has the potential to do that, where you can only see anything around it, you can't see the outside. So the solution that you're looking for, something that you're looking for to proceed, might be just outside your field of view that you've just recently narrowed. And that could be destructive in a creative process. But for me, choosing to claim that label, choosing to wholesale accept those definitions that came in that box and connect it to all my behaviors, explained so much and empowered me to go seek the help I needed. It empowered me to go find that, and then brought my life to the next level. It allowed me to finally focus on my vision, finally focus on what I wanted, and gave me the confidence to actually put pen to paper and take action, know that I could accomplish way more in one day than I ever thought possible. And that's the power of labels. So to recap, I want you all to know mental illness is really real. It's a huge struggle. And life is fucking unfair. Some of us get dealt way better hands than others. But it's still up to you to claim the label or to discard it. And that's what I was getting at. And that is what a lot of people get at and miscommunicate when they talk about mental illness. Thank you so much for listening. I really hope that this helped you, that this got something out of it. And if you're suffering, if you're going through something, you don't have to suffer in silence. It's okay. It's absolutely 100% okay to go find out, to go seek the help you need, to have that label written across your chest. It might be the best thing that you ever write. Good luck. Peter Henry out.